Hi everyone, welcome back. This is MQC Chat's Off-Broom on mic. I am your host, Ryan.
I'm Andres. I play for Brandeis.
And we have our guest today.
Hi, I'm Fia Baffi of Brown University. I'm Beat.
And we're going to be discussing regionals. We had our last show predicting what we thought would happen, and today we're just going to discuss what actually went down. Do you want to start us off?
Yeah, and a lot went down. This tournament, obviously, we talked about how 12 bids were going to be handed out, and 12 bids were handed out. And oh boy, was there a lot of drama in getting there. What were your guys' thoughts about the overall tournament? I know the weather was insane.
Yeah.
Insane.
Yeah, the wind was definitely like a paid actor, something like that. Not a fan of the wind or the colds. It was warm like the first two games on day one, but then just nothing but ice cold quad ball for the rest of the weekend.
I think I saw more teams than ever, at the coin toss, picking sides of the pitch because of the wind. I saw people measuring the wind direction to try to see which hoops would blow over the most. Of course, they ended up stopping the games a lot to put hoops back up anyway, in the Brown Emerson game. Oof.
Oh, I felt terrible for the goal refs.
Oh
because those are the new players anyway. It's here's your introduction to reffing. Go set up a hoop 40 times in a single game.
Well, it made the cold worse because, I don't know, the Brown Emerson game got so prolonged because they kept blowing the whistle to keep, put the hoops back up to make them scoreable. Yeah, that was wild.
Yeah, I remember we were playing Middlebury at the 7 p.m. time slot, and that's when the wind, picked up. It was 15 mile per hour, gale force winds. And I'm driving to the right, and as I drive to the right, both the middle hoop and the right hoop fall down. And I'm well, now I can't drive right anymore.
Yeah, I don't think anyone wanted to play our Brown Emerson game. I love quad ball, I want to play, but I didn't want to play. And as a shooter, I couldn't shoot at all. I throw the ball into the wind and it veers off to the left or the right, and it was not fun.
Well, the wind for you was pushing your passes further, and the wind for us was stopping them short. So everyone was having we would have these floaters that just in slow motion landed into Emerson's hands. It was very interesting to watch, and I couldn't catch it all on film. I tried desperately, but couldn't.
Yeah, maybe that's for the best because I don't want to remember the weather from that tournament at all. I think that's kind of the environment that we were in. But what did you guys think about the format overall? What were your thoughts on the D1, D2 bid system, kind of how that all played out? Yeah,
I'll start. I think 4 games it's kind of rough to play in one day. It's doable because we did it, but I don't know. If there were more teams, perhaps there'd have been more pools, which would have meant only 4 teams in each pool and less games overall. But I'd say something to think about for next year's regionals. Perhaps less games because I was very tired, especially the cold made it so much worse.
It's kind of interesting you say that because I feel we didn't play enough games.
Okay.
We were also part of the smaller pool, so we only got 3 games on day 1, and one of those was forfeited at 20 minutes, so that's 2.5 games, and then we only got to play 1 game on day 2 because the Rutgers game ended up being canceled because the tournament was running a little behind. I left feeling definitely a little disappointed because we drove 8 to 10 hours to a tournament with the expectation of playing a lot of quad ball. And we played some quad ball, but I would have loved to have played more.
Okay, but contrast your roster sizes, though.
That's true.
How large was your roster versus how large was Emerson's roster?
Oh, we were 25 strong heading into that.
Yeah, they were exhausted because you guys had how many people?
We had 9, so and I played every second of every game, so...
You had no subs.
No subs, so I was out there a lot.
Whoa.
Yeah, I don't envy that.
We had a pretty good... This was the first time in recent memory, at least in my memory of being on Brown's team, that we've actually done a day 2 of regionals, because last year and the season before that, we've had to drop out of day 2 because we would go in with 12-person rosters. I think... Both years it was a 12-person roster, and 1 or 2 injuries, and we were knocked out.
Yeah.
So this time we had 18. It was phenomenal. You felt the difference. It was a world of difference. Middlebury had a tiny roster too.
Yeah.
They did so phenomenally.
Yeah, they played 7 games with I think 9 or 10 people exactly. I also I feel it's worth commenting on. There was that last D1 spot. I believe it was Middlebury, Harvard, Case Western, and Brown, and no one wanted it.
Nope,
no one wanted that D1 bid.
Oh, the discussions were so fun.
well, they were because USQ ended up having to step in and say, hey, don't intentionally throw games.
Oh, yeah.
Which I feel like in terms of competitive integrity for the tournament overall is maybe not the best thing. But
definitely.
I think they ended up making the right decision with the no, if you get this, you can pick if you want a D1
Well,
because
there were talks about conceding at 20 just for the heck of it, like to get out of the running for a D1 bid.
Yeah.
It didn't end up like needing to happen. Middlebury kicked our asses. Oh, is that all? Am I allowed to swear on here? It didn't. But we were in conversations with Jason Wu on Middlebury, and we had like a talk with a couple of Case Western players too, because no one wanted that bid. I have my own thoughts about why no one wanted that bid.
Yeah, I want to hear why.
Well, okay. Do you want me to launch into why I think no one wanted that bid?
I'm curious.
So I think no one wanted that bid just because if you're going into D1, you're gonna get like knocked out on day one of bracket play, and like it's always better to play more quad ball. Mm-hmm. And I think leadership on all of these teams wants to see how far they can make it into day two if you're playing D1 against like teams that frankly like you know that you aren't going to be able to make it past. Like, don't get me wrong, I think that Middlebury and Brown are definitely D1 caliber teams.
Yeah.
But I don't think that anyone wants to get knocked out early, like you said, and then play fewer games on day two. It's never fun to play a consolation bracket.
Mm-hmm.
You always want to play more competitively than less competitively. What are your thoughts?
That's fair. For Emerson, like we probably weren't in the running for a D1 bid, but I think if we were in the position, we also would go down to D2 if we were on a D1 bid, but then like had a choice as a team. We would not want to play, Creighton day one of nationals and lose 200-10, and then we want to have fun. Emerson's and most quad ball teams, the main goal is to have fun first. Mm-hmm. I mean, obviously win, but nobody who's like a D1, D2, like on the margins team, no one wants to go play some team from Texas and get obliterated.
I see the points. Like it does make sense. And I think it also comes down to where you are as a program in terms of what are your goals. Because I agree. If the whole point is we're here to have fun, we're here to play as many games as possible, sure, I understand. But I also think in general, having the goal of we want to perform at the highest level possible is really important. And I wonder how regional this is. Like, I wonder if teams from other regions have similar sentiments because, like, who wants to go up against Creighton with that, like, 9-person roster and then not be able to play any games after that? I understand. But it's also like, hey, we just secured a D1 bid. Yeah. Like, we're in that upper echelon of this sport, at least on the college level. And I think that's something that, like, should be applauded and should be something that teams should strive for. Obviously, with different vibes and different situations on what they want to accomplish. I understand, like, we're here to have fun. I get it. But, when there's 4 teams left and there's one D1 bid, you want to see, you want those games to be the best games, not the worst games.
Counterpoint to that, I guess, is like Brandeis, I feel like, is operating from a very different point in their program. You have a very experienced roster.
Yes.
And like you have a lot of seniors on your team, right? And so, like, for Brown, who has a ton of rookies who are phenomenal rookies, we want to give them a chance to develop and really come into themselves in the sport. And it would be devastating for morale to be completely wiped off the face of the earth, injured like crazy on the first day of D1 at nationals. Yeah. So like if you're at that point as a program where like you've built something and you can really showcase that on a D1 scale, like that's great. But if you're focusing on rebuilding a program and developing new players, then I feel like D2 is just objectively like a better place to be.
Yeah, and I wonder how much like the system of D1, D2 even makes sense at this point. Like I don't really think I have any like alternatives or counterpoints to it. When that's the case, like, is this the optimal way of formatting college quad ball? I don't know.
As opposed to what, like getting rid of all the divisions?
Yeah, like some sort of non-divisional play. I don't know, you could have more pools. It sounds a little bit more complicated, probably harder to manage, but if the D1, D2 bid system isn't working anymore, are there alternatives? I don't know.
That might be a lengthier discussion.
Yeah, I don't know if this is the place for it.
I think that is also an interesting discussion and worth pondering. Is D1, D2 necessary in quad ball?
Okay. Cool.
All right.
Those are pretty much the overall tournament thoughts, but why don't we get into teams? Why don't we get into the teams that did get bids. What do you want to start with here?
Mm-hmm.
First of all, I think we should start with Brown, actually.
Oh, we should. Okay.
Just because no one had you guys beating BU.
Yeah, you didn't.
No one had it.
Yeah, how do you feel after those predictions?
My prediction was wrong. I accept
Yeah.
it. I apologize, and I'll be a better analyst going forward. But
It's okay.
there were 4 catches in that game.
I think so, yeah. There were a lot of catch. I think we had 3. It was wild.
I saw some of the film back. Like,
Yeah.
why do you think Brown ended up making that upset victory? How do you think that went about?
We wanted it so bad.
Mm.
It's really about wanting it. We had gone into the game like mentally preparing ourselves that we are playing BU on the first game slot on day 1, and we had gone into it knowing their roster. We had like a presentation where we spotlighted BU games. We had the footage that I took from last semester that we were studying. Having footage, by the way, I'm on this mission to film as many games as I possibly can, because it's like, how else are you supposed to get better and to anticipate your future games if you can't reflect on previous footage?
Absolutely.
So I credit a lot of that to having the experience, having played BU before, and having the footage to analyze and kind of look at their strategies and then adapt to it. So we knew what we were up against, and we wanted that so bad. And you could tell in our snitch on pitch, 3 catches. Like we really, really wanted to catch that. We also, we have phenomenal rookies who I think, no one knows anything about our rookies. And we have great morale on the team, great coaching. Even like our sophomores who have like a year of experience are doing so much to bring in more people into the sport. You can really tell based on like roster size.
No, because I feel like it has been the depth of Brown that's been the issue in previous tournaments.
Yes.
Like you mentioned, like Brown has dropped out of day 2 in the last 2. That wasn't the case at this one, but I also think that allows the stars to shine like that much brighter. Tommy Flathers was ridiculous that game.
Oh yeah.
Ridiculous.
The Tommy dunks. You can see him in real time realizing when he can like drive through people. Like especially if you're like watching back the footage and just seeing him like finish those. It's great. Also real leaders on the pitch too, which we love to see. Will and Tommy really like picking everyone else up.
They might be the best 1-2 punch in the Northeast.
Oh yeah,
I think
you
that's
got
fair.
that from Kieran here, right? Kieran's words. Yeah, they are a great 1-2 punch. Having them both on the pitch at the same time, you can really see that. Our beaters also, shout out to Jeans Guy, right?
Jeans Guy.
I didn't know when you wanted to do those. Maybe later.
You can go into it. I think it's fine.
Go into it.
The star of the tournament, to be honest.
It was Jeans Guy.
Jeans Guy.
Yeah, his name is Junu. Just so everyone's aware, Junu Park. It's his first year playing. He plays in jeans much too often. There's hope for him yet, right? Ben Lambright on Brandeis used to play in cargo pants.
Used to,
yeah.
He still does.
He still does?
All the time.
I thought he was over that.
Nope.
Oh,
you can take the man out of the cargo pants, but you can't take the cargo pants out of the man, I think.
Oh my goodness.
Well, maybe every team needs one, I guess. Also, shout out quickly to like our other players on our team, like on our chaser core, Yifan. Whoa, number 9, phenomenal, sets so many screens. And that's the kind of stuff you don't see in stat sheets.
Yeah.
That I'm always trying to, like, you see dunks and you see, like, all these scoring opportunities, but the people who know the positioning and facilitate those scoring opportunities, really unsung heroes.
Yeah,
so Meredith Chang, huge leader on the pitch. Both of the Chang sisters, we got 2 of them now. Jocelyn, for her first year playing, she's phenomenal. Really can't do much without the rest of the team. So.
Yeah, Brown had a great performance.
Yes.
Okay, so I think we should talk about BU then, the other side of that Brown BU game. My whole take was that they would be the second best team in the Northeast, and I think even with that loss to Brown, which again was a very close game, I think it was ended up being 140 to 155.
We won by catch,
like that. Yeah, I still think BU is that second best team, especially after their win against Rutgers.
4-1 record.
A 4-1 record at regionals is fantastic. Very easily could have been 5-0 if a few different things went different that game. Yes. I mean, that was a toss-up. So I think BU is a team that's not to be trifled with. Like, they have the star power, they have the ability, they have a fantastic coaching core, and they're only going to get better after playing in more games. So I'm pretty excited to see them at nationals overall.
I wholeheartly agree. I think, as you said, I think they are looking like the second best team in the Northeast, and I think they look like a well-oiled machine. I think they're just clicking on all cylinders, offense, defense, chasers and beaters. Yeah, they're going to be tough going forward, especially at nationals. I think maybe not full squad, but almost full squad. I think they could be very tough to beat.
I think they just showed it at this performance. Other teams that ended up with a D1 bid here, we have RPI out of the Northeast. That was another take that I got wrong. Good job,
us,
RPI.
yeah.
Good job. Way to use the motivation. That's how I'll put it.
I think both of us were talking in our previous show about if RPI's like stars could come together and if they got a D1 bid. I wasn't able to watch any of their games, but I guess everybody clicked and they got it together enough to get a D1 bid.
Yeah, there is like a slight lack of footage, I think, specifically with RPI. Now that this team has gotten there, I'm pretty excited to see what they do, because maybe it was just that boost of confidence that they needed. I think we're going to see, obviously, and this is for a future episode, RPI and BU play each other in the Northeast Championships. That's really exciting. RPI could be really solid moving forward, and it's an experienced veteran squad. And to be honest, if not now, when? This roster's pretty much last chance to really make a significant impact on the college scene. And I know a lot of people really want to see that. Congrats to RPI for that D1 bid. Thank you for proving me wrong. Appreciate it.
Maybe it's the fact that you had it wrong that spurred them.
I will not take credit for RPI getting the bid.
No, do not. They earned that.
And then we have Middlebury. Middlebury did get a D1 bid. They'll probably end up saying that they won a D2 bid. But pretty impressive that that roster was able to make it, because they only had like 9 people. Yeah, what did you guys see out of Middlebury?
Last episode we talked about Jason Wu a lot, and I think he did his part to get them their D1 bid, but I also think the stars around him, the role players around him that can score and give him assists, and also Jason Wu can pass to them, also pulled their weight a lot and earned them the D1 bid too.
I think their beating core too, yeah. And they can compete with anyone in the country, I think.
Oh yeah, I'll say that like our game against them was the first time I've ever seen two teams who are about to play each other warm up together. Like, we were doing warm-ups together, the Brown beaters and the Middlebury beaters giving each other advice. Jason Wu hopped right into our chaser drill. Just the vibes on that team are phenomenal. Like, sportsmanship, amazing. You can't help but cheer for them.
I love that. I love the feel good story making.
Well, we were all waiting for USQ to announce whether or not the winner could reject a D2 bid or a D1 bid rather. And during that, we were all just warming up together and having a good time. It was great.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Why don't we talk out of region a little bit? And there were 2 other teams that were not from MQC that ended up with D1 bids. That's Rutgers and UVA. UVA being the tournament winners by 5 points, but still the tournament winners, and then obviously Rutgers as well. And I'm a little worried about Byroning's injury because there was apparently a pretty bad injury at the end of UVA Rutgers. So I do hope, of course, he recovers. But this Rutgers team was completely different from previous years. Completely different. It's coached by Christian Barnes, which Christian and I talked a little bit about that, about not having an over-reliance on coaching. And I think it's a young roster. Their time is coming.
Oh, yeah.
The fact that they secured that D1 bid on day 1, I think is really impressive. And I think this is a team where they might make a splash this year. They certainly have the capacity to, but I think going forward, they could be really impressive, especially as this team just gets more attention and watches more film and gets better.
Justin Mock looked really good out there. A couple other shout outs from Rutgers.
Yeah, totally. There was Monvi Kona, who was just all over the Reddit. Everyone was talking about
number 0 on Rutgers.
Yeah, double 0.
Yeah.
That's cool. 0.
Great number.
Okay. Good jersey number. Great ball carrier. Was shifty as anything. Could shoot from anywhere, it seemed like. And yeah, I think that's a perfect compliment for a lot of those chasers that they have on Rutgers.
Shout out to Rutgers. I think they're one of the teams that I root for just because I'm from New Jersey. And then I think a name also is Luis Mendoza. I played with him over the summer on the Titans, and he was doing everything. He was chasing this last weekend, and he was beating, and I think that's a lot to do, double duty, and I think Rutgers is just at the top. But also, I think what you were saying is right. I think next year, the year after, they're looking like a team that could win a national championship.
Wow. Yeah, that's a cool take. I like that take a lot. Let's talk about the championship game of this tournament. It was Brandeis UVA. Everybody was watching. I'll let you guys go first because I want to hear thoughts before I have anything to say.
We got pulled out of that. Like, we were watching and we had to leave to go play.
Oh, brutal.
It was so brutal because we wanted to watch it so bad.
Yeah.
But Ryan.
Oh, Emerson, I at least did not watch it. We were having car trouble. Shout out to rental cars. Before we got into the car on day 2, our battery died. We had to Uber to the field, and then we Ubered back, and as Brandeis and UVA were playing, so we missed it. We watched the ending on the live stream, but tough ending. Yeah.
So take it away.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, in that case, I'll talk about it. We being Brandeis, started out 7-1. Like, we were down 7-1. And I don't think I've seen us play worse quad ball for those
Whoa.
first 12 to 15 minutes,
Mm-hmm.
which is, I don't necessarily know why. I don't honestly think it's because there was anything Virginia was doing that was so special or unexpected. I think there was just probably a bit of nerves going into it. But past that point, and this is something about this Brandeis team that I really want to talk about, we believe we can win any game, regardless of the score. We don't factor the score in at all. I think our favorite phrase is the score is always 0-0. And we truly believe that. And that's why we were able to come back into this game. That's why it ended in golden goal. It hurts so much.
Yeah.
That loss hurts so much. And I mean, UVA balled out. There was a few players I want to mention. First of all, their beating core is ridiculous. Don't remember Rhett's last name, but Rhett and Bay are just ridiculous. There is this one kick beat. Bay kicks it all the way back across the pitch. We had a none to Rhett, and then Rhett snipes Shakti from across. And it's golden goal. So if that goes through, theoretically, we win the game. And it's just those little plays like that where UVA just has this like star caliber level of players where there's just some plays where there really is truly nothing you can do.
There was a red there, right?
There was a red. There was a red that game. I like how Chris officiated that game because it was very physical and Chris kept it from getting out of hand because it was a deeply physical game. I think these are two teams that like to run at each other a lot. But that call at the end was definitely a little bit rough because the player that Eli ended up getting the red, Eli Fighter, he dove for a ball. I do think it's a good call if the player that he dove under was on Broom, which he wasn't. He was beat before and didn't come off Broom and went through the play. It's loud, hard to hear beat calls. I hear it. I understand. I don't think it's on the ARs or Chris or anyone, but it's so hard to lose a game like that. It's so hard to lose a game on golden goal. That last possession, we made like four consecutive stops. And good teams overcome any bad calls. I think that's just like a motto of the sport, and that's how sports should be played. But it is hard to lose like that with Zan standing in front of you with the freest goal he's had all game. And I know all of us, we played our hearts out, and that game could have gone very differently.
Yeah.
So
maybe a Nationals rematch looking forward to, or
That'd be fun.
I want it so bad. I'm not gonna lie. I have never. I mean, the day after, you couldn't talk to anyone on this Brandeis team without them kind of losing their shit over that game. Just because it hurts so bad. And that motivation, we thought we were motivated before, we're motivated now.
Wow.
And I think playing the number 2, number 3, depending on your rankings, best team in the country that close, we're there. And I think it's just inspired confidence in everyone. A lot to look forward to. This is a type of loss where it happens now, and it's good that it happens now because it won't happen at Nationals.
We love a good rematch. I mean, just wait till you see Brown versus Middlebury in the bowl. Brown's pretty high. After that loss to Middlebury was rough, and that was not our best quad ball play, if I'm being honest. But we have the footage. You bet we're gonna be going over it.
Totally.
Getting ready for that rematch.
Totally. Those were the D1 teams. We've kind of mentioned a little bit about the D2 teams. We can kind of go over it slightly. Case Western really surprised.
Oh yeah.
I don't think people expected Case Western to be that good. Titus Chan, number 12, ridiculous.
Oh, yeah.
Very good player.
Like, in his bag constantly. They ran a very interesting style of defense. They had this kind of man press defense that, at least with the wind on day one, was really hard to contend with because you can't pass around that because it's too windy. So yeah, definitely smart play from Case Western, and I think they're a team to be feared in D2 for sure.
Very physical, I'll note. They really drive I think I don't remember us like Brown playing a game against anyone in my recent memory where we gotten that many cards. It was like on both sides. There was a red on both sides. Like they got a red and we got a red. The energy in that was very wild, but they're definitely a very hungry team. I will say that. Coming in and being a new team, I don't think anyone expected them to perform as well as they did, but they just blew everyone out of the water.
I think that has something to do with their coaching. And this is kind of like a larger narrative I want to push. The RPI coaching tree is really impressive.
Yeah.
Case Western is coached by an RPI alum. Brandeis is coached by 2 RPI alums. Brown is coached by an RPI alum.
Eric Berglund, RPI alum, yeah.
Absolutely. And then you also have RPI, obviously, coached by Sam. Yeah. That's an RPI alum. And all those teams showed out. I think the RPI coaching tree is kind of a fun thing to follow going forward. It is
fun. I mean, it says a lot about them as a program, I think.
I think so too. I agree with that.
Long established program. They've churned out so many great coaches. I mean, I can speak for Eric. Like, he's very invested in in the team that he coaches. And I'm sure I think that can be said of like all the other branches of the RPI coaching tree. They're these very invested coaches in the sport and the well-being of their players. It's great to see.
I don't have that much to add. I think it does speak on the way RPI runs the program quad ball wise, because they also just, even non-coaches just have some stars out of that program.
For sure. I like the well-being part of it, because you're trying to define like style of coaching. I think the style of RPI coaching is very holistic. It's very, the team does well when we are all well. I really like that. And it showed success at this tournament. Harvard was a team that had a lot of kind of hype coming into this, and they ended up with a D2 bid. I wasn't able to see so much of it. What were your guys' thoughts on Harvard?
I also wasn't able to see that much of Harvard. I think their losses, who are they missing? Lance?
They're missing Lance. They're missing Ian Polk.
I think those two people out are big for them.
Yeah. Jess didn't play.
She played in the end. Yeah, I reffed the Harvard Middlebury game for I think it was for the D1 bid. Yeah, she did play. Of course, she played well, but especially coming off of a big injury. Watching Harvard play, they've got a lot of energy and they've got a lot of new people on their roster, and it was really fun to watch like this new squad of people work together. And you had people who've been playing for a little longer on Harvard, definitely being leaders out there on the pitch, and the communication, like the energy, was really great. I'll say that about Harvard is that you can hear them when you're reffing. You can hear them talking to one another.
Yeah, it shows a well-coached squad, I think, for sure. Communication is just so important in this sport. Cool. Okay. Any other teams y'all want to mention in D2? Do we want to talk Emerson?
Yeah, we can talk Emerson. We can also shout out the other teams that got D2 bids first out of the region, which is Triangle United, that team from like North Carolina. Yep. And then Penn State.
Good job. Way to get D2 bids.
Yeah. And then Emerson, we also got a D2 bid. Lost our first 2 games against BU and Rutgers. Those were tough, and I don't think anyone expected us to win, and we didn't. And then we beat Triangle and Pitt to earn a D2 bid. And I think there might be footage of one of those games, but I think Emerson looked very, very strong against those 2 teams. And then we also played you guys. We played Brown. Very close game.
Oh, yeah.
I wanted that one very badly, but snitch catch. And you guys won.
Yeah, the wind was against both of us in that. I could tell you really wanted it. The energy also, considering the conditions, was pretty good. I don't think anyone wanted to be there.
No one did.
No one wanted to be there. Everyone wanted it to be over as soon as possible. And you could tell by the way that people were playing. I was impressed with Emerson overall. Shout out to Janie Hillman.
Shout out Janie.
Shout out Janie.
Always.
Shout out to Janie Hillman. Phenomenal always. Great leader, great communicator. It was very fun to watch. I forget, I reffed an Emerson game. I don't remember who it was against, but it was the one where you guys were doing that immunity trick where you
that was Pitt.
That was Pitt. Oh my gosh. It was really funny as a ref to see them trying to claim immunity over and over again and get beat by Janie and her being partner
Peyton.
Janie and Peyton just standing over those dodgeballs and no one can touch them. It was really fun to watch.
They are probably one of the best beater pairs in the college game.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And I can't wait for Jonathan Nam to come back into the Emerson program, because then I think the snitch on pitch is just going to be ridiculous with those beaters.
I agree. I think full squad at Nationals, Emerson will be a very, very tough team to beat.
Yeah, especially if you can get a few more people so you can sub. Daniel can sub.
We will have a full squad, so I will be able to sub a little bit. Not too much, because I just always want to be on the field. I'll be a little bit more rested up every game.
And that means Emerson will be better, I think. Yeah. Individual players? Any specific people that we didn't mention that you really want to talk about being up there in terms of showing out at this tournament?
I'll start first with Zach from BU. Great ball handler and great driver, and I think played very well at regionals.
Totally. Zach's a monster, like defensively, offensively, really fast. I don't know how to put this better, but just plays the game so naturally. Really feels very well adjusted to the sport, and I think Zach is going to be very good going forward. We had a statistic that I wanted to include in the last one, and I didn't because I love it. It's called PSAP, and it was made by Carson Asua, and it's points, stops, and assists per possession. Basically, it's player impact. How impactful were in a given possession? 60% of the time, Zach has a point, a stop, or an assist in a possession. That's amazing.
That's amazing.
That's really, really good. That is better than Jay Weezy. That's better than Jason Wu. So yeah, definitely an underrated name. I'll mention one. UVA specifically when we were playing them, it was really cool to see Chantel, and I'm gonna mess up your last name, but Shadlars, something like that. Chantel, wow. I had a free drive to the hoop, middle hoop. I mean, wide open. And I'm putting my right arm up and I'm about to dunk it through. I just feel a force come down. And I'm like, how did I not finish that? Because I usually finish those opportunities. They were the only player that stopped me on a shot attempt in that UVA game. And I have to shout that out. But also offensively, the movement was there. Every pass was on point. I want to see more shots taken from her. I want to see the ball in her hands more often because I think this UVA team only gets better with her playing more. So that's my player.
Great.
Who do you have?
Oh gosh, it's so hard because like I don't want to. It's hard to like play favorites. I mean, obviously, all I want to do is compliment Brown all the time because I love our squad. I love our rookies. I definitely want everyone to be watching our rookies. Watch Kalen Brown. His name is Brown, and he's on Brown. Watch Kalen Brown, new this year, played keeper, really stepped up in terms of physicality. So definitely watch that. Another one on Isuna Humu on Brown. Watch her. It's her first year playing. She comes from a little bit of a basketball background, and you can kind of tell by the way she plays. Phenomenal. So keep an eye on I think everyone should be keeping an eye on the rookies, in my humble opinion, because it's so fun to see where they're going to end up going, and I love it.
I completely agree.
Yeah. Does Emerson have a bunch of rookies?
Emerson has 2 rookies and neither of them were able to come to regionals, but I do think
we'll see them.
They will be forces to be reckoned with in the near future.
Since we're doing this, and I never get the chance because I've been told to not hype up too many of our players so we can keep them secret, but I'll shout out a few because I think the cat's out of the bag, at least on Matan Schwartz for Brandeis, starting seeker. Now that lets Rowan beat, lets Eli chase, and Matan caught. And I was so hyped after Matan caught. Really, really, really good player. Beater, chaser, everything. It's their first year, and yeah, Matan's incredible. Player that should have gone a lot more minutes. Oren Weinstein is really good as well, and was really good from the very first practice. I absolutely have to shout out Oren, but honestly, trying to keep it a little bit secret. There's a lot of players on this Brandeis team. There's a lot of rookies. I know we have a lot of seniors that are graduating, but this team will have players next year.
We'll see them next year.
I guess so.
Yeah.
I'm really excited to see what the new Brandeis era.
Oh, their time is coming.
Their time is coming next year, and it's going to be so fun to watch.
Interesting. And Brown is a team with a lot of seniors too.
Oh yeah. Well,
not too.
I mean, Tommy and Will.
Okay.
Are seniors.
Is Will finally graduating?
Oh, don't say that on camera.
Thank God. Because there was that one semester where Will played for Jinx, and I'm like, oh great, I don't have to try and tackle Will anymore. And then Will came back, and I'm like, God damn it, Will's back.
This is Will's last semester in college, and he's going to move on to bigger, greater, beautiful things.
Yeah.
We'll definitely miss him and Tommy, but I feel like they're setting up our rookies for success, and that'll be fun to watch as well.
Mm-hmm.
Totally.
Emerson is also as a team with a lot of seniors. I think at least 6 by my count, maybe more. And yeah, tough recruiting class this year because Emerson art school, hard to get people to play or
it's
care
a
about.
Very small school.
Yeah, hard to get people to care about sports at a small liberal arts school, but maybe next year we'll be back with a vengeance.
You just need all those clips of you guys looking very badass, and you need to broadcast them.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I think that's pretty much been the post-regional show. We have a lot to look forward to. There's a lot of good quad ball coming, and we will be here to talk about it. I'm Andres. Jaden Daniels is best quarterback in the NFC. Yeah, we are Off-Broom on mic. Thank you very much, Fia, for being here as our guest.
Thank
you were
you
great.
for having me.
Of course. Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much. Until next time.